What's up, guys? It's Mama Deadhead, and I am back with another video. So today I wanted to address a question that I get very often for this Team Build Tuesday. So on nearly all of my Road to Survival videos, and normally this is one of the first questions people ask me if they hit me up online or a different social media, they always ask, is this a good toon, or should I buy this toon? Like if they're in Premiere, they ask me, should they go for this toon? And I always say, my answer is always, it depends. Because it solely depends on the team that you have, whether or not a toon is good for you. A toon that's good for you might not be good for me. Like if I had the opportunity at getting a range toon or a melee toon, I will go with melee because I mostly run melee, so it would just make sense to me. So I wanted to go over some more basic stuff in team building and how to work a toon into your team. So I've gotten a lot of questions on whether or not I'm going to go for this guy, and my answer is yes. And yes, I also have a place that I am imagining in my head that he will take, and that's really what you need to do if you want a certain character. Say you're going for this Kelly. Should you go for this Kelly? Think about how he will fit into your current team, or think about the ways that he can benefit you. That might be different from me. Me personally, I have Glenn Command already, and I kind of prefer him over Kelly. So I wouldn't want to go for this toon. I would want to, save coins for maybe a different type of toon. Maybe somebody like Dante that was just up. I did do several single pulls to try for Dante and I did not get him. I might go for a different melee toon that would benefit my team more. But just right now, personally, he wouldn't. Now, for somebody that doesn't have Glenn, for somebody that really needs a command, he would be excellent for you. So I would say go ahead and go for him. But let's stick with this Rick, because I have had a lot of questions about Rick and how I'm going to put him into my team. And I want to talk about, again, some basic stuff in team building. So I'm going to use my team as an example. So let's go ahead and pull up my team. This is who I use on attack. And the first thing that I want to talk about that I talked about in a previous video, I'm pretty sure it was my first Team Build Tuesday, is getting a good leader. So I want to use like everything that I've possibly talked about over all my Team Build Tuesdays in this one video. And I still see this mistake often. And I would think that if you are far enough, into the game to have a lot, like a full 6-star team, that this mistake wouldn't happen as often, but it's quite common. If I'm going through my raid list and I'm skipping people, seeing who I want to raid, I see this quite often. So you need a good leader that benefits your entire team. So in my case, I have Carl, and his leader skill, you want to make sure you have a toon that has a leadership skill in the leadership position. Otherwise, this is a place where you're basically wasting a toon. You want somebody with a good leader skill that's going to benefit your entire team, because it's going to get you much farther and help you in raids a lot better versus a toon like Ezekiel. For some reason, I see a lot of Ezekiel as a leadership skill, while they still have Carl, and Carl is on the team. And oftentimes I'll send message like, hey, heads up, Carl will be a great leader for your team. And sometimes people don't even realize that, people have that leadership skill. I didn't to begin with. I know that that's a super simple thing, but I didn't even realize it in the beginning. I thought if I just stuck a toon out that people think is scary. I see a lot of Shivas out there as lead. That's the 6-star version, not the 5-star version with the leadership skill. People think, oh, maybe somebody won't raid me if I have this toon up. I made that mistake in the beginning. I showed you guys. I have a screenshot somewhere of my Tyrese as a leader. But yeah, so I have this Carl. He gives all melee teammates 40% HP and 40% defense. So melee, for those that do not know, is all strong and all fast. So all green and all yellow fall under this leadership skill. So everybody on my team can benefit from that HP and that defense bonus. So that's a huge, huge, huge part of my team. Now, obviously, if you have like a ranged team, you would want somebody like an Erica lead or a Maribel lead that gives all ranged teammates a bonus. So that's the good thing about having all melee, is that you can choose from green and yellow versus somebody that says, you know, all alert characters get a certain leadership bonus. It's always good to have somebody that covers more than one color. There are some Toons in the game that are rainbow leads, so it says like all characters get a certain bonus, but I think we might have one for 6 stars, but I'm not 100% sure. I think Madison is one. So let's go in to the Ascendance Tower and let's look at Madison. Yes, she is. So all teammates get a large bonus to AP when attacking and plus 40% attack against melee characters. So this is one of those rainbow leads that would be really good in a situation with, I mean, anyone. This is a person that will give any teammate a good bonus, and AP when attacking is huge in this 6-star era where all of the recharge rates are much slower. So let's go back and go to my attack team and talk about the next thing that is really crucial in building a team, and that is your skills and your adrenaline rushes working together. So, one very important, actually they're all very, very important. I might say this for everyone, but he is important to my team because he has the Guardian 2 skill. So everybody knows that when this guy lands a critical attack, he will put a shield over 2 people, and that can be incredibly annoying. Now, another thing to note is he has the Recover Impair active skill. So typically what I'll do whenever I go into a raid, if it's a windowless defense, and by windowless I mean every weapon you run the risk of messing up your team somehow. So somebody with all stun or stun and impair, all impair, somebody like that, it's really good to have an active skill like this that will help you. So I know that if I run across a team that has like all stun and all impair, I can hit somebody with impair, and most of the time not everyone gets impaired. Most of the time it's normally about 3 people that get impaired. I know that if I hit them the next round, I can just recover impair with this active skill. So his adrenaline rush is 375% damage to up to 2 enemies, and all teammates get plus 60% defense and 30 crit for 3 turns. So this in general helps him. Now his damage isn't massive, but it will do good damage to blues, which a lot of people run Tyrese on defense. So this is a good counter to Tyrese. And then all teammates get plus 60% defense and 30 crit for 3 turns. Now this is very, very important because the 30 crit can benefit this Ezekiel. As you know, when this character performs a critical attack on an enemy, they apply the 2 shields. So it's very important for this guy, plus 60% defense. Who couldn't benefit from that? That's a wonderful thing to add to the team once you use this adrenaline rush. So the next person I want to talk about is Glenn. Now, obviously the #1 best thing that I have him for on my team is command. Now, this is a specialist skill that I'm pretty sure I've always had on my team. Ever since I got that prestige governor and I realized what he could do, he was on my team for that command. And then when I grew a little bit more and I used my Andrea lead team, I had 4 blues and 1 green, which was the command Heath. And I thought, you know, I didn't have any range command at the time, and I figure with his boost and his command, he was worth it to have on the range team. But everybody else benefited from that leader skill, and that's really important. You could have maybe 1 person off that leader skill if they can do something amazing, which I thought command was, and I could often use my Jose or my Andrea turn 2 because of it. So I always wanted to keep him around. And then at one point I had a turn 1, halfway turn 1 team that I used command on so that I could use the rush the first turn. So having a command on your team can be incredible because you can make a Toon go off even faster than they normally would. And say for somebody like Shiva, if Shiva takes out one person, that means two people get confused. And if you can make her do that early on in the raid, that's fantastic. So his Adrenaline Rush, I don't have it completely leveled. It's only at 2 of 10. But whenever it goes off, he gives confused to up to 2 enemies for 1 turn. And all teammates get plus 35% attack and 35 defense for 2 turns. Now you can see if I would upgrade him more, then he would do a little bit more, but I was saving my Liliths and Aidens for a different thing, because typically I use him strictly for command. It's kind of a rare occurrence for me to go long enough to have to use that Adrenaline Rush, but it can be incredibly helpful. Again, 35% attack, 35% defense for 2 turns. Who can't benefit from that? That would be wonderful to add to the team. And then Confuse. Confuse is wonderful because they can't use their Adrenaline Rush on you, and not only that, they could potentially do damage to themselves, stun themselves if they have that on their team, so that's excellent to have. Which leads me into my last 2. So my last 2 are Shiva, and that's for a very, very good reason. She is quite amazing. She is easily my favorite 6-star, and it is because she has 66 AP, which is very fast, especially for a 6-star. 550% damage, so most of the time, especially if it's a yellow, she can just use her Adrenaline Rush and completely take them out. And then, not to mention, up to 2 enemies get confused for 2 turns. So having 2 Shivas and having the Glen working together, most of the time, my opponent is confused. And I use the Shiva, confused for 2 turns, and then use the other Shiva, confused for 2 turns. So oftentimes, everyone is just confused. Also, very, very important to note, the active skill here. Now, some of the Toons, I don't typically use their active skill. I told you guys I use this Ezekiel, but I don't really use the AP gain. It's not that important to me. And then his Recover Bleed isn't that important to me, but Stun. Stun is so important. I already have a couple stun weapons, which I'll talk about later, but the active skill is something that definitely works. There's no maybe about it. It will absolutely 100% stun every single time, unlike a weapon can. So, if I get to turn 2, and let's say that there's a shield on the opposing team, like Michonne with absolute defense, and I didn't stun her that first round, I can go ahead and stun her in this round and basically wipe her out. If I use the stun, I have mostly greens, and then by the end of that round, she's gone, and I can worry about somebody else. Now, of course, you don't gain any on your AP, but it's worth it if you're able to stun someone. So that's how all of my teammates work together, and that's normally what I would do if I'm looking at Premier. Let's say I am looking at this Kelly. I'm like, how can this Kelly benefit me better? Command is obviously great for me. He has Taunt, and he deals damage. This character gains 70% defense for 1 turn, and up to 2 teammates get 30% AP. But how often am I personally going to use him when I know that I don't use my Glen's Adrenaline Rush very much at all? That's a spectacular Adrenaline Rush, and for somebody that doesn't have command, that could really use command, he's a great character. Totally go for him. But for me, why replace something that I already basically only use for command? So I hope that makes sense. That's why I'm always saying it depends when you ask me, is this a good Toon? And then some Toons, people might say, oh, that sucks. It's just a 5-star. It's for fodder. Go ahead and get rid of it. But I use them like every single day on Survival Road. So they're like very important to me because I use them in a different way versus somebody else like that. For example, this Lily. I've gotten so many mixed things on this Lily, but to me, she's amazing because I don't have really any other Toons like her besides Sadiq, but he's not nearly as fast. They give crit and they're blue. She helps me so much on Survival Road. Like, no kidding, I use her all the time, and she's amazing to have along. But some people are like, I don't even do Survival Road, so I'm going to just throw her into a sentence to send somebody to a 6-star. So for them, she wouldn't work. But for me, I love her. So like I said, it just really depends on the person and the teams and who they use. So the last thing that I want to talk about is weapons. And honestly, guys, at this point in the game, weapons can absolutely make or break you. Like, if you come across a team that's fully alert teammates and they all have stun guns, it's going to be really, really hard to defeat that person. Now, typically I would try and go in with I would really just defend everybody on the first turn and then try and go in with my Shiva the next and stun, but it would get messy. Like, there's no way that would get messy. I would lose tunes. I would be stressed out the entire 5 minutes that I'm trying to do that raid battle, which is what you want. You want somebody to look at your defense and think like, how am I going to do this? This is horrible. So there's a couple things that I want to talk about as being important. Now, the first thing is something that I've valued the entire time that I've played this game, and that is AP when attacking or on defense, depending on, you know, which one you think happens more often to which character. I typically go for AP on attack, and I'm going to run through all of the weapons that I currently have on my team. So I have 30% attack, very large bonus to AP when attacking, and stun. Now stun, this is what I want to talk about a little bit later, the special skills, but for now, let's settle for the AP when attacking. This guy heals, and he does damage. So he can be quite important, and you want him to go off at a time when, say, your other tunes are at low health. So you really want his adrenaline rush to go off as fast as possible. So you really need an AP boost, especially in this era of 6-stars, like I mentioned earlier. They're so incredibly slow compared to 5-stars for a reason. You don't want to be completely overwhelmed with like 44 AP Shivas immediately. That would be like horrific. But you have to have something to help those teammates go off. So in this case, I have AP on attack with him. Now, this guy, I accidentally just took it off, is a 3-star weapon. I talked about this in one of my armory videos. I wouldn't go for a 3-star weapon for stun. It was just all I had at the time. I wish that I hadn't gotten on the 3-star, but I do. I have to mention, he looks kind of cool with the spikes. Let's be real here. He looks pretty awesome with the spikes. I've gotten a couple messages. They're like, what weapon is that? I'm like, oh, it's a 3-star brush axe. And everybody laughs. But, so he has very large bonus to AP when attacking, 30% defense, and then stun again. So this is just helping him go off a little bit quicker in case I do need that confused. Sometimes I do. And then over here on Zeke, let me scroll over. Now you can see over here I have these reduced damage to 0 when defending over here, but I don't use them. I use a crit weapon on him, especially when attacking. Reason being, I told you guys before, when he lands a critical attack, that's when his Guardian 2 goes off. So I want him to have as much crit as possible to help that go off. I've seen plenty of people use these weapons over here on defense, and unfortunately, I think maybe one time I've seen him actually go off with the Guardian 2 while he had this weapon on him. But this weapon is nearly every single turn you're getting 2 shields up, and it's so incredibly annoying. So I use this on attack. Now on defense, typically I would say go for maybe absolute defense on this weapon, because that way you have the absolute defense, plus you get the crit. So the next weapon I want to talk about is a big failure. It's such a big failure for me. So what I'm going for on these Shivas is AP down. I kind of go back and forth between stun and AP down, but I would like either of them. I've yet to get them. So what I have on this one, I'm not messing with this one's claw just yet. I'm going for this claw right now. I have one in the armory right now cooking up, hopefully AP down. But this guy is huge AP when attacking. Again, AP when attacking is so incredibly important, especially for somebody like Shiva. She's one of the faster 6 stars, so oftentimes I can command and she can go off really, really fast. Now, the reason that I'm not trying for both of them at the same time is she typically goes off a round later. And if I didn't have the AP bonus on this one and they were both going off a turn later, I feel like my team would be in quite a bit of trouble. So I've just kept the AP bonus on her, and I'm going for the AP down on her. Now, what I said earlier, a windowless defense. Now, this just means that there is no possible way to attack the team and be safe because of the weapons. So, if I was going against somebody with all stun guns, that's windowless. If I was going against somebody with, like all stun and impair, that's windowless. There's no window that I can get in and try and make the team weaker with. Now, there are a couple exceptions to this. A lot of people would put stun on attack, green weapon, as not a windowless def, but the thing about it is, if you have enough stun, then it can only work to your advantage, and unless you're confused. But let's go into that in a different video. But basically, if I go to attack somebody, you know what? I'll do it right now because I know somebody that has 4 stun weapons, and they are on my team. They're probably going to kick my butt. So let's go over to friendly duel and go to Craig. Now, he does have a drop lead up, but he has 4 stuns on his team. So even if I'm going for 1, or maybe I stun 2 with the 2 stuns that I have, what if he stuns with like all of his? What if he stuns with all of his left? It can really mess me up. So let's go ahead and hit duel on this. Already regretting I did this. So he has his drop lead up, which is good. And I did not get a single stun, so let me go up here and see the damage that he can do. Oh, so he stunned my Ezekiel 3 times, which is fantastic for me. So let's try and get past this. He stunned. He stunned a very important person. He stunned my command. That Morgan might go off. Yep. Oh no, Carl went off too. Failure for me, okay. Alright, I'm gonna try and leave these guys alone because I'm scared they're gonna go off. Kind of glad I did that. Come on, please don't stun. Oh no. Okay. Look at me, I'm like biting my nails over here. That stun can just be so deadly. Alright, so they're both at 66. And it didn't confuse the one. Oh, he's stunned. Okay, perfect. He stunned himself. That's what I was talking about. He does have the potential to stun himself if confused, which is great for me. Ah, I stunned Shiva. No, okay, so this is what I was talking about. Sometimes it does get far enough to where I can use that confuse, and it helps me. So, yes. Sorry, Craig. I know Craig won't mind if I use his team, just because his drop team is giving me trouble, guys. Like, how awesome is this? I know he's gotten messed. Look, timer. A timer on a drop team, guys. That's what stun weapons can do for you. Like, how awesome is that? So that's one of those situations where I'm like, you know what? It might not be completely windowless, but if he stuns like every single time, you're done for. Especially with a Carl lead. My goodness. I'd hate to see his actual team. It might make me legit cry. So that's what I wanted to talk to you guys about this week. I know that maybe this is a different type of video, but it's very, very important for all of your teammates to work together. Work together in harmony, and it will make your entire team much better if you can get a good leader good adrenaline rushes that work together with each other, skills that benefit each other. I didn't even delve into Cutthroat, which is also a very wonderful specialist skill to have. And basically, whenever this character attacks a fighter under the effect of a debilitating status, they will deal 30% extra damage. Sometimes that's all it takes to kill another Toon. So that's another thing great to have on your team. So to answer your guys' questions about this guy, like I said earlier in the video, I've had so many questions on if I'm going to get him. The answer is yes. And why? Because I think that this guy will probably benefit me more than my current setup with Guardian Ezekiel. Now, Guardian Ezekiel is, like I said, pretty important to my team, but it's important to me to keep changing and keep adapting to fit the teams that I'm going to have to be defeating. And I think that using this guy with 66 AP versus the really slow Ezekiel Rush, with the added bonus of a bigger rush and elusive for one turn, I think that he will greatly benefit me as opposed to Zeke. He already benefits me a lot, but I think that this guy can just benefit me more. So like I said, I want to make sure that all of my Toons can work together. And while I find Guardian 2 to be great, I think that 3 teammates getting elusive might be a bit better. Not to mention, this is a guy that I can use my absolute defense weapon on that has AP on attack. So I can make him go off a bit faster and I don't have to worry about the crit. So that makes him a little less prone to dying because typically my Zeke is first to die. So I think that that will hold off attackers a bit. Also, it will help with their adrenaline rushes not going off. Guardian skill does that, and I think an absolute defense weapon will do that just as well. Also being said, this guy has focus. So focus can benefit me because 3 teammates can get focus and just completely ignore a shield. I think that's a wonderful thing to have. I have it on like 1 Toon, and I just got her, and haven't got to use her that much yet, but I've used her a little bit, and I really like it. So this might be another active skill that I actively use, as opposed to some of the other ones like Recover, Bleed, or AP Gain. Don't typically use those a lot, because I'd rather have the Adrenaline Rush. So to answer everyone's question, yes, I will be going for Rise to Power Rick. Hopefully ascending him and putting him in my team, just so you guys can see again. I will most likely have him in place of this King Ezekiel. So I'm hoping that he can really greatly benefit my team. Now again, just to go over what I've said in the video, after having the good leader skill and having good Toons and good adrenaline rushes, the last thing that you really want to bring together the entire team will be your weapons. Weapons are super important. If you need some pictures or some advice on maybe what you should go for, obviously do your best to boost your character with your weapon, make your character better with their weapon. But if you're pretty confused, you don't know what to go for, you don't know which ones to go for, say you don't know what Defender 3 Red is, comment below. I'll do my best to answer everyone and get back to you on which thing you should go for. I also have plenty of files in my line chat. The link, or actually my line chat ID, is in the description below, so go there and you can see, well, I'll add you to the group and you can see all the files that I have down for all of the stuff that you can get for all the different color of weapon. But that is going to be it for today. Thank you so much to my fellow Gravediggers, Craig and Satan, for helping me out with what they struggled with whenever they first started. That's the inspiration for this video entirely. That and all the questions I get for should I get this Toon. So hopefully I helped you guys out. Helped you guys out with some team building. And if you have any idea for next Tuesday, go ahead and comment down below. But that's going to be it for this Team Build Tuesday. Thank you guys for holding on for this extremely long video. Hopefully I was able to clear some things up for you guys. But that is going to be it for today. And hopefully you guys will join me tomorrow for my live stream. But that's going to be it for today. Bye guys.